I survived 7 years of childhood sexual grooming and assault. And shocker, I developed alternates. I developed what we call DID, or dissociative identity disorder. And there's a lot of confusion about what that is and how that manifests as adults. And also things like, oh, you leave it behind, or are you carrying it with you, or can you go crazy and kill somebody, or explain. So I'm here to do that. Dissociative identity disorder develops in people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder almost across the board if they were sexually assaulted. When you look at outcomes, and I'll spare you the statistics right now, but they're in the book, amongst those with CPTSD, which includes anybody that was, you could have a wonderful family, but you're in a war zone. You could be food deprived. You could be in fear for your life because they might come and take you or your parents from work or school. Something like that can cause complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And when you feel there's no way out, you develop what we've traditionally called alternate personalities to deal with it. And once I realized that everybody doesn't have a committee in their head talking to each other, and that people thought it was weird that I always talk to myself and I tell myself what to do, and I say dumb shit, get your shit together, or get up, get her done. I actively talk to myself. Well, there's actually a system, we call it. That's the modern terminology for understanding how we learn to cope by pulling out parts of ourselves and putting away parts of ourselves. And when you've done that for so long that it becomes part of your neural net, the short answer is no, you're never going to get rid of that. If you're trying to consolidate your personalities, if you have DID, that's really not a thing. But I'm here to make you not scared of it, because for the most part, I think that my alters work really well with me. So I should probably tell you who they are and about that, so this makes more sense. So I consider the whole of me, the most of me, to be like an observer. Like, I'm living my life, but I have parts that do everything. And I'm watching the parts, and I'm listening to the parts, and I'm choosing which parts to be and which is appropriate to be right now. And that's worked pretty well for me, because one of my alters is Busy. Busy kicks my ass. She's the last one I learned about, though. She kicks my ass in a good way. She tells me to get her done. She tells me, suck it up, Buttercup. She tells me, don't put it off, do it now. She tells me to make plans. She gives me the 5-year plans and the 3-month budgets. That's busy. It's not one person in here going, that's how I am. It's one of the me's that is compensating for the other me's. Little girl is the me that stopped at age 12. Little girl is 12 years old. And it's well known, documented, researched that we tend to stop emotionally at the age we were first abused. And although I back my grooming up to 10, I was first sexually assaulted at 12 and raped and sodomized at 14, and then all on just been raped repeatedly for 3 more years by my assailant and his cousin and some med doctor friend that stopped by. And while I remember those things, I now remember them as an observer. I chose to put that aside. And I learned as a child of 12 in a loving family with a father that used to be a minister, turned teacher, counselor, now my high school principal. Well, not yet. He was a high school counselor. You'd think I was in the ideal situation to not have this happen, right? To tell someone. And if I'd have told someone, my life would have been completely different. But that's not how grooming works. That's not how grooming works. And in my generation, we weren't talking about everything. I'm 60. I'll be 61 September 2nd. My book, I scheduled it to come out on my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Sorry, it's been a long time coming. And I've lost a lot. I've lost family who doesn't want to talk to me, who thinks that what I'm doing to my niece and nephew and their children is horrible, that this should stay in the closet. And I'm like, I gave that a lot of consideration for years. I did. But I started working with people once I went into neurolinguistics so that I could try to heal myself, and did so largely. I realized that this is bigger than me. This is a huge problem. And I never set out to write a book. People just keep reading and interacting, and it just keeps getting bigger. Now we're coming out with the largest publicist of self-help books in the world, with Call It Assault. But back to how this all fits into being an adult. How do you adult with alters, in other words? Am I a threat to society? I'm not a physical threat to society. I don't have any alters that do violent things, but I was talking about little girl. So little girl is the 12-year-old who stopped. I still experience life through little girl every day. She's a constant. Little girl is always there, and Busy is almost always there, telling little girl to be a grown-up and what to do that thing, and making plans and making budgets and all that, while little girl just wants to crawl into a ball and cry sometimes, and sometimes she does. And when she does, my other alter, Rage, takes over. And it can be like I've woken up in a field the next day and didn't know how I got there. I have many times just woken up in the bottom of a closet, in my own home, in my own apartment, even if no one's there, in a bathroom, favorite place. Little girl goes away. Little girl gets triggered by life in society and remembers the horrible things that were done to her, and she goes away. And that's the beauty and the harm of the base personality, I wouldn't even call it the base. I don't think there is a base personality, and that's what I'm trying to explain, or I'm going to get to. Like, everyone's like, well, who's the real you? And it's like, we all are. We all are. I am absolutely a 12-year-old little girl who, my mind thinks like that, is stuck in it. Plus, I am a 30-something Busy who was older than me before I was older than me, when I was younger than me, keeping it all together. But before Busy, before I understood who that was and named it, there was Rage. And there's still Rage. And Rage is an asshole. Rage just blew up my life recently again. I was triggered. I was triggered into actually going alter. And that doesn't happen much in my life. And the only two alters I can go into, like, Busy isn't a problem. Busy helps me, Busy she's a handler. She's my handler, who is like, here's what you're going to do. Here's the assignment. Here's how. Busy's so much better than me. She's nicer than me. She's smarter than me. She's organized. She gets everything done. She's got plans. She won't cry. Busy won't cry. And it's good to have someone that won't cry when you've done a lot of crying and you want to turn that thing off. So I'm very grateful for Busy. And I see now that I'm also grateful for Rage's past influence, because at those times when after I was assaulted, I would just disappear. The shame was just too intense. I had to make it go away, I guess, and I didn't realize that because I was a child, but the way I made it go away was dissociating, and I'd be somewhere, and then somehow Rage would know, I guess, that you got to get up, you've got to go to school, you're a straight A student, you're honor society, you win awards, you're pictured in the yearbook more than anybody else, literally, my junior year, right before I ran away because of all of this. I got her done. That's why people are so shocked now. It's like, but you were first seat flautist, but you won, speech awarded an overall gold medal of every category at an 8-school event with 3 entries per school and beat our school's finalists out. And I did it on a bet with 3 days notice. Another story. Just saying, I have always succeeded, so it's hard to understand, but that's busy. That's busy that succeeds. Rage is the one that has screamed at you in a bar. Rage is the one that has judged you. If you, and I know that, I hope that people, but especially the person most recently whom I harmed, I take responsibility, but I harmed by letting rage get a hold of me. I shouted at this person that they were weak for taking medication. I take medication. I take prazosin, which is for PTSD, just so I can sleep at night. I take hydroxyzine for a serotonin lift. I don't believe in antidepressants, but that's a whole nother live stream. I've done that, we'll do it. But the point is, the things that come out of Rage's mouth are not what I want. So the rest of us, it's like a committee, I said, but Rage he's not a team player. Rage is not a team player. Rage is like the angry teenager pacing around the outside of the meeting. It's like me going, observing, busy, trying to kick little girl's butt and trying to tell Rage to calm down, settle down, Rage, and here's what we have to do. And I'm just like, well, maybe I just want to cry today. My friend committed suicide. I totally was an asshole and alienated one of the people I love the most on this earth on Thanksgiving. I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with me? And I want to be busy, my ultra busy all the time. I wish I could just be busy all the time. She does step in and save me and runs most of my life. But yeah, that's what the system is. The system is that you're aware of all of these people. And I wasn't aware of Rage for a long time. That's why he destroyed so much of my life. And there'll be more about that in the book. But a whole lot of people can tell you that Rage destroyed a whole lot of my life. But I'm getting a grip on that. Because the system works together to heal that. And that's where I'm going to close. I will talk to you tomorrow. And we'll get deeper into the how it all happened. But I wanted you to understand what we mean by dissociation and what we mean by the system and all. So we're not going to freak out and kill you, but we might tell you off inappropriately, and for that I am very, very sorry. Talk to you tomorrow.